What if the man you've been trying to figure out isn't pulling away at all? What if he's actually getting closer, but in a way you haven't learned how to recognize yet? Because when a man is secretly falling in love with you, he doesn't always walk up and say, I'm falling for you. Sometimes he gets quieter. Sometimes he starts watching you more closely. Sometimes he finds little reasons to be around you, even when he pretends he doesn't care. And sometimes the biggest sign that he's falling for you is hidden inside the smallest things he does. That's what you need to understand. Love doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes love leaks out through behavior. A man can control his words. He can control his texts. He can control his facial expression. He can even convince himself that he isn't ready to fall. But when his heart starts becoming attached to you, his behavior begins telling the truth. And there is one thing almost every man does when his feelings become deeper than he expected. He starts making room for you, not just in his schedule, in his life. That difference matters, because a man can make time for you without loving you. He can text you because he's bored. He can call you because he wants attention. He can take you out because he enjoys your company. But when a man starts making room for you in the structure of his life, something has changed. He starts thinking about you when you aren't there. He starts considering how his decisions affect you. He starts remembering things you said weeks ago. He starts noticing your moods. He starts wanting to know what makes you happy. And most importantly, he starts becoming protective of the connection between you. That's when you need to pay attention, because attraction says, I want you. Attachment says, I don't want to lose you. And love begins somewhere in between. A man who is secretly falling in love may not tell you everything he feels, especially in the beginning. Why? Because falling in love makes a man vulnerable. And vulnerability can scare even the strongest man. He may have spent years learning how to protect himself. He may have been hurt before. He may have trusted somebody and regretted it. He may have told himself that he would never get emotionally attached again. Then you show up, and suddenly, the rules he created for himself start changing. He finds himself checking his phone hoping it's you. He notices when you become quiet. He wonders why you didn't respond the way you normally do. He starts thinking about what you're doing. He starts imagining you being part of future moments that haven't even happened yet. And that is when something powerful begins to happen. You stop being just a woman he enjoys. You become a woman he considers. There's a difference. When a man considers you, your presence begins influencing his choices. Maybe he starts telling you about his plans. Maybe he asks what you think. Maybe he starts sharing parts of himself he doesn't normally share with people. Maybe he talks about his childhood, his failures, his fears, his dreams, his family, his struggles, his future. And don't overlook that, because many men are taught to hide emotional weakness. So when a man begins allowing you behind the walls he built around himself, that is not meaningless. That is access. That is trust. And trust is one of the foundations of real love. But there's another sign you need to understand. A man who is secretly falling for you starts paying attention to the details, not the obvious details, the little ones. He remembers the drink you like. He remembers what makes you uncomfortable. He remembers the story you told him about your family. He remembers the day you had something important happening. He remembers what kind of music makes you happy. He remembers the things you casually mentioned and thought he forgot. Why? Because when a person becomes emotionally important, their details become important too. You don't have to force somebody to remember what matters to them. Their mind naturally holds on to it. That's why you should stop obsessing over whether he sends the perfect text. Watch what he remembers. Stop counting how many emojis he uses. Watch how he treats what you tell him. Stop analyzing whether he said the exact words you wanted to hear. Watch whether his actions consistently make space for you, because real interest is not always loud. Sometimes it is incredibly quiet. A man may say, I'm busy, but if he still finds 5 minutes to check on you, that tells you something. He may not be a man who talks for hours on the phone, but if he makes sure you got home safely, that tells you something. He may not constantly say, I miss you, but if he creates reasons to see you again, that tells you something. You have to learn the language of behavior, because words can entertain you. Behavior reveals investment. And when a man is falling in love, investment starts increasing. He gives more, he notices more, he remembers more, he protects more. He communicates more. He considers more. And eventually, he begins showing you something that is even harder for him to hide. Consistency. Anybody can be intense for 3 days. Anybody can send 20 messages in one night. Anybody can make promises when emotions are high. Anybody can tell you that you're beautiful. But consistency is different. Consistency requires intention. A man who genuinely cares doesn't only show up when he wants something. He shows up when life is inconvenient. He checks in when he is tired. He keeps his word when nobody is watching. He doesn't disappear every time the relationship becomes emotionally uncomfortable. He learns how to communicate. He learns how to compromise. He learns that your feelings matter. That is when you stop looking at chemistry and start looking at character, because chemistry can make somebody excited about you. Character determines whether they can build something with you. And ladies, this is where many women make a mistake. They see one powerful moment and build an entire future around it. He looked into your eyes. He said something sweet. He opened up. He kissed you differently. He told you that nobody understands him like you do. And suddenly, your mind starts writing a love story that his actions haven't confirmed yet. Don't do that. Let the man reveal himself. You don't have to interrogate him into loving you. You don't have to chase clarity. You don't have to compete for his attention. You don't have to prove that you're worthy. If a man is genuinely falling for you, give him enough space to demonstrate it, because pressure can produce words. Space reveals behavior. And behavior is what you should be watching. When you stop chasing every answer, you become more powerful. When you stop trying to force a connection, you can finally see whether the connection has strength on its own. A man who wants you will make an effort. A man who values you will protect the relationship. A man who is falling for you will begin moving toward you, not perfectly, not always dramatically, but consistently. And there's something else that happens when a man's feelings become serious. He starts caring about how you see him. That one is easy to miss. A man can act confident around everybody else, but around the woman he genuinely cares about, he may become surprisingly sensitive to her opinion. He wants you to respect him. He wants you to see him as capable. He wants to impress you, even if he pretends he doesn't. He may start talking about his goals. He may tell you what he's working toward. He may explain why he made certain decisions. He may ask what you think about something important. That isn't necessarily about ego. Sometimes it is about significance. He wants to know whether he can become the kind of man you can believe in. Because when a man sees a woman as temporary, he doesn't always care deeply about her opinion of his future. But when he starts imagining her in his life, her opinion begins carrying weight, and that can change him. He may start working harder, taking better care of himself, becoming more disciplined, thinking more seriously about his future, not because you demanded it, but because your presence reminded him that he wants to become better. That's powerful. The right connection doesn't make you smaller. It challenges both people to grow. And if you have to beg a man to become responsible, respectful, honest, or consistent, that isn't love. That's management. You are not supposed to manage a grown man into loving you. You are supposed to observe what he naturally chooses to become around you. There is another subtle sign that often gets overlooked. A man who is falling in love starts letting you see his ordinary life. Not just a polished version, not just a date night version, not just a version where everything looks impressive. He lets you see the tired version, the stressed version, the quiet version, the version sitting at home doing absolutely nothing. He may call you after a long day without having anything exciting to say. He may send you something random because it reminded him of you. He may want your company even when there is no special occasion. That is important, because attraction often wants an experience. Love eventually wants companionship. There is a point where he doesn't need fireworks. He just wants you there. And when a man starts finding comfort in your presence, something deeper may be forming. You become the person he wants to tell things to, the person he wants to hear from, the person whose absence he notices, the person whose happiness starts affecting his own. And that's when you should stop asking, does he like me? Start asking, what does his behavior consistently tell me? That question changes everything, because you are not looking for one sign. You are looking for a pattern. One text means nothing. One compliment means little. One date means little. One emotional conversation means little. But repeated effort, that matters. Repeated honesty, that matters. Repeated consideration, that matters. Repeated consistency, that matters. Repeated movement toward you, that matters. A man falling in love doesn't become perfect. He becomes intentional. And intentionality is what separates temporary attention from meaningful connection. So if you're dealing with a man right now and you're confused by his behavior, stop trying to decode every single moment. Take a step back. Watch the pattern. Does he come closer when he could easily stay away? Does he make time when he could make excuses? Does he remember what matters to you? Does he care about your emotional world? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he want to understand you? Does he let you understand him? Does he include you in his thinking? Does he protect the connection instead of constantly testing it? Those answers will tell you far more than 100 romantic messages ever could, because love isn't proven by how loudly a man speaks when everything is easy. Love is revealed by what he continues to do when things are difficult. And if he is secretly falling for you, eventually his heart will begin making decisions before his mouth catches up. He'll start choosing you in small ways. He'll start showing up. He'll start caring. He'll start remembering. He'll start protecting. He'll start planning. And sooner or later, the thing he tried to keep hidden will become impossible to hide, because you can hide a feeling for a little while, but you cannot hide a pattern forever. The heart eventually leaves fingerprints on everything you do. And when a man is truly fallen in love, those fingerprints begin appearing everywhere. In the way he looks at you, in the way he listens, in the way he remembers, in the way he makes time, in the way he worries, in the way he includes you, in the way he starts thinking beyond today. And the most beautiful part is this. You don't have to chase those signs. You don't have to force them. You don't have to beg for them. You simply have to be still enough to notice them, because the woman who knows her worth doesn't run behind a man asking him to prove that she matters. She watches, she listens, she observes, and she allows his actions to tell the story, because when a man truly wants a place for you in his life, you won't have to fight your way into it. He will begin making room, and once you understand that, you stop confusing attention with love. You stop confusing chemistry with commitment. You stop confusing words with action, and you start recognizing something much more valuable: effort, consistency, respect, trust, and intention. That is where real love begins. And there is one more thing you need to understand about a man who is genuinely falling for you. He starts becoming emotionally affected by your presence. Your energy matters to him. Your happiness matters to him. Your silence matters to him. When you're excited, he wants to know why. When you're upset, he wants to understand what happened. When something good happens in your life, he wants to celebrate with you. And when something hurts you, he doesn't want to be the reason. That is a major difference. A man who only wants access to you thinks about what you can give him. A man who is becoming emotionally attached starts thinking about what he can give you. That shift is everything. He starts asking himself, how can I make her feel safe? How can I make her smile? How can I make her life a little easier? How can I show her that she matters? He may not say those exact words, but you'll see the questions being answered through his actions. Maybe he notices you've had a difficult day and checks on you. Maybe he remembers something important and follows up without being reminded. Maybe he notices that you're overwhelmed and offers help. Maybe he simply sits beside you when you don't feel like talking. That's emotional investment. An emotional investment is difficult to fake for a long time. A man can pretend to be interested. He can pretend to be romantic. He can pretend to care. But eventually, pretending becomes exhausting. Real feelings create natural behavior. And one of the strongest signs is that he becomes curious about your inner world. He doesn't only want to know what you look like. He wants to know what you think. He wants to know what scares you. He wants to know what motivates you. He wants to know what you dream about. He wants to know what happened in your past that shaped the woman you became. That is deeper than attraction. Because attraction focuses on the surface, connection becomes interested in the story underneath. And when a man starts asking questions that have nothing to do with getting something from you, pay attention. He may ask about your childhood. He may ask about your goals. He may ask where you see yourself in 5 years. He may ask what kind of life you actually want. He may ask what makes you feel loved. Those questions reveal something. He is trying to understand the woman he may eventually have to love. And there is another sign that can be even more revealing. He starts becoming more careful with you. Not controlling, not possessive, careful. He thinks before he speaks because he doesn't want to hurt you. He remembers your boundaries. He notices what makes you uncomfortable. He understands that certain words may stay with you longer than he intended. Why? Because your emotions have become important to him. When somebody doesn't matter, they can hurt your feelings and move on without thinking twice. But when you matter, your pain becomes uncomfortable for them. They begin caring about the consequences of their actions. That doesn't mean a man will never make mistakes. He will. He may misunderstand you. He may say the wrong thing. He may disappoint you. But watch what happens afterward. Does he dismiss your feelings, or does he try to understand? Does he become defensive, or does he take responsibility? Does he disappear, or does he communicate? Because love isn't about finding a man who never makes mistakes. It's about finding someone who cares enough to repair what he damaged. A man who is falling for you begins to understand that losing your trust could mean losing something valuable. And that changes the way he behaves. He doesn't want every disagreement to become the end. He wants the relationship to survive the disagreement. That is maturity. And that is what you should be watching for. Not perfection progress, not promises. Purpose, not intensity. Consistency, because sometimes the man who talks the least is the man who shows the most. You have to stop measuring love only through words. Some men are naturally expressive, others aren't. Some men can write you a paragraph about their feelings. Others will struggle to say 3 sentences. But if the second man consistently shows up, respects you, listens to you, and makes room for you, don't ignore the behavior simply because he doesn't communicate exactly like somebody else. People express affection differently, but genuine care always leaves evidence, and that evidence is usually found in effort. He may not send you a long message every morning, but he remembers to call when he said he would. He may not constantly tell you that you're beautiful, but he makes you feel respected. He may not make dramatic declarations, but he makes dependable decisions, and sometimes dependable love is more powerful than dramatic love. Because anybody can create butterflies, the right person creates peace. Let that sink in. Anybody can make your heart race, but the person who is truly good for you will also make your nervous system stop fighting for security. You won't constantly wonder where you stand. You won't spend every night analyzing a 3-word text. You won't have to become a detective just to understand whether he cares. His consistency will answer questions his words haven't even addressed. And that brings us to something every woman needs to hear. Never mistake confusion for chemistry. If someone repeatedly makes you confused, anxious, uncertain, and insecure, don't automatically call that a deep connection. Sometimes confusion is simply confusion. Sometimes inconsistency is simply inconsistency. Sometimes a man isn't secretly in love. Sometimes he is simply undecided, and you deserve the wisdom to know the difference. A man who is falling for you may be nervous. He may move slowly. He may struggle to express himself, but over time, his direction becomes clearer. He moves toward you, not away. He becomes more intentional, not more careless. He becomes more consistent, not more unpredictable. That's the difference. Never build a relationship around potential while ignoring reality. Don't fall in love with what he might become. Watch who he is right now. Because your heart deserves evidence, your time deserves respect, your energy deserves reciprocity, and your love deserves somebody who understands its value. Now, there's another powerful sign. When a man is truly falling for you, he starts introducing you to more of his world. His friends may know about you. His family may hear your name. He may invite you into spaces that are meaningful to him. He may start bringing you around people he genuinely cares about. Not because he needs to show you off, but because he is slowly connecting different parts of his life. You stop existing in a separate box. You become part of his real world. That matters. Because a secret connection that never moves forward can become a trap, but a healthy relationship gradually becomes integrated. He wants you to know the people who matter to him. He wants to know the people who matter to you. He begins imagining what it would look like for your lives to overlap. And that's when something else starts happening. He begins using we without even realizing it. We should go there. We could do that. Next time we Maybe someday those little words can reveal a lot, because the mind naturally speaks about the future when it has begun imagining somebody inside it. And when you become part of his future thinking, even casually, pay attention. But remember this, don't fall in love with future tense. Watch for present tense action. It's easy to say, one day. It's harder to show up today, so listen to the words, but measure them against behavior. If he says he wants to build something with you, does he act like a man building something? If he says you matter, does his behavior demonstrate that? If he says he doesn't want to lose you, does he protect the connection? That is where the truth lives. And ladies, never underestimate your own intuition. You know when something feels different. You know when a man's energy toward you changes. You can feel when somebody starts paying closer attention. You can sense when conversations become deeper. You can notice when his eyes stay on you a little longer. You can feel when his presence becomes softer around you. But intuition should be combined with observation. Don't let wishful thinking become your evidence. Let his behavior confirm what your intuition is telling you. And if the behavior doesn't confirm it, believe the behavior. That is how you protect your heart. Because one of the most powerful things a woman can learn is that she does not have to convince someone to recognize her value. The right man may take time to understand his feelings. He may need time to open up. He may need time to trust. But you should never have to spend your life auditioning for a role you deserve to be offered freely. You are not competing. You are not begging. You are not chasing. You are observing. You are allowing. You are choosing. And that mindset changes the entire dynamic. When you know your worth, you stop asking, how do I make him fall in love with me? You start asking, is this the kind of man I want to receive my love? That question gives your power back. Because love isn't only about being chosen. You get to choose too. You get to decide whether his character deserves your heart. You get to decide whether his consistency deserves your trust. You get to decide whether his behavior aligns with the future you want. And that is where confidence comes from. Not from knowing that every man will want you, but from knowing that you will not abandon yourself just because one man doesn't. The woman who understands this becomes incredibly difficult to manipulate. She doesn't chase breadcrumbs. She doesn't celebrate minimum effort. She doesn't mistake jealousy for love. She doesn't confuse physical attraction with emotional commitment. She doesn't allow loneliness to make decisions that her wisdom would reject. She watches, she learns, she listens, and she lets time reveal everything, because time is one of the greatest truth tellers in relationships. Anybody can pretend for a week. Anybody can be charming for a month, but eventually character comes out. Eventually consistency either appears or disappears. Eventually intentions become visible. Eventually actions expose the truth. So don't rush the process. Let him reveal himself. If he's falling in love, you don't need to drag the confession out of him. You don't need to pressure him. You don't need to send emotional paragraphs demanding reassurance. You don't need to disappear just to make him chase you. You don't need manipulation. You need observation, because real love doesn't require games. It requires two people who are willing to be honest, consistent, respectful, and emotionally present. And if he truly is falling for you, eventually he will reach the point where hiding it becomes harder than admitting it. The man who once avoided difficult conversations may begin having them. The man who once kept everything casual may begin talking about commitment. The man who once guarded his emotions may begin telling you what he feels. The man who once protected his independence at all costs may begin realizing that partnership doesn't have to mean losing himself. It can mean building something bigger than himself. And that is the beautiful transformation. A man doesn't lose his strength when he falls in love. The right love teaches him where to place that strength. He becomes more intentional, more responsible, more protective, more emotionally aware. Not because a woman forced him to change, but because loving her gave him something worth protecting. And that is what you should want. Not a man who is obsessed with you for 3 weeks. Not a man who showers you with attention until he gets what he wants. Not a man who makes you feel wanted one day and forgotten the next. You want the man whose actions become stronger as time passes. The man who doesn't just pursue you, but respects you. The man who doesn't just desire you, but understands you. The man who doesn't just want your attention, but values your heart. That kind of man may not always be the loudest. He may not have the smoothest lines. He may not know how to say everything perfectly. But when he loves, you will feel the difference. You will feel it in the consistency. You will see it in the effort. You will recognize it in the respect. You will notice it in the way he makes room. And you will understand it in the peace you feel when you no longer have to question everything. So if you're wondering whether a man is secretly falling in love with you, stop searching for one magical sign. Look at the whole picture. Look at how he treats you when nobody is watching. Look at whether he remembers. Look at whether he follows through. Look at whether he listens. Look at whether he protects your trust. Look at whether he makes room for you. Look at whether he respects your boundaries. Look at whether he wants to know your heart. Look at whether his future thinking naturally begins to include you. Most importantly, look at whether his actions become more consistent as his feelings become deeper. Because love is not one grand moment. Love is 1,000 little choices. It is choosing to call, choosing to listen, choosing to understand, choosing to show up, choosing to communicate, choosing to repair, choosing to respect, choosing to stay intentional. And when a man keeps making those choices day after day, that is when you have something worth paying attention to. So don't chase him into loving you. Don't become somebody you're not just to keep his attention. Don't shrink your standards because you're afraid he'll leave. Don't abandon your peace because you want his presence. Let him show you who he is. Let him show you what he wants. Let him show you whether his feelings have depth. And if he is truly falling in love with you, you won't have to manufacture the evidence. It will begin appearing everywhere, in his actions, in his attention, in his consistency, in his priorities, in his vulnerability, in his effort, in the way he starts making room for you. And eventually, his behavior will say what his mouth was too afraid to admit. I don't want to lose you. That is when you will understand. The biggest sign isn't that he says he loves you. The biggest sign is that his choices begin protecting the possibility of loving you. And remember this above everything else. You should never have to chase someone into recognizing what they have in you. Your job is not to convince him. Your job is to remain yourself. Strong, confident, grounded, self-respecting, and emotionally aware. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't need to force love. She creates space for real love to reveal itself. And when a man is truly falling for her, he doesn't need to be chased. He starts walking toward her. He starts making room. He starts opening up. He starts investing. He starts choosing. And sooner or later, the secret isn't a secret anymore because love has a way of exposing itself. You can hide words. You can hide intentions. You can hide nervousness. But you cannot hide consistent behavior forever. So watch what he does. Listen to what he doesn't say. Notice what he remembers. Pay attention to what he protects. And above all, pay attention to whether he brings peace or confusion into your life. Because the right love won't require you to lose yourself just to keep somebody else. The right love will allow you to become even more of who you were meant to be. And when a man is genuinely falling in love with you, his greatest sign may not be that he says, I love you. It may be that every day, in small ways, he starts showing you that your presence matters. And when his actions finally become impossible to ignore, you won't have to ask anymore. You'll know.